How can I say to you, 36 awards so far and counting, right? How does it feel to be celebrated like that with your movie? And how did you hear so far from all these places that you went, the festivals, screenings, and in Brazil? What did you hear from people about MANAS?
Yeah, thank you, Jana. It's been, I don't know, I think the honor and the fulfillment of a lifetime for me as a director. But mostly I think this film has a mission to give voice and to break silences and to speak out for women and girls everywhere, not only in Brazil. And I think since we started making this film, our greatest challenge and desire was to be able to connect the spectator with this girl, to make you live through her skin, through her heart, through her soul, and maybe bring some transformation at the end, dialogue, debates, and courage and cure. So it has been really beautiful. The film premiered a little over than a year ago in Venice last year, and we've been traveling around Brazil and around the world, and the reaction has been really kind of similar, of people thanking me for having the courage, which was not only me, but everyone who made this film was really brave and courageous and dedicated to telling this story, and also thanking me for not showing violence, explicit violence, and thank you. And I think that I mean this is an aesthetical but mostly a political choice. This kind of violence should not happen. So how could I portray it on the screen and also with telling the story and being a woman, I had the opportunity of doing that, respecting our bodies, respecting those women and girls' bodies, and not sexualizing, which is what most commonly happen, and that's what sexualization is usually in the eye of the abuser. So for me, those were things that were very important while doing this film, and were present in the early stages when we first started writing the script. And so, yeah, it's like a beautiful journey.
Yes, it is. It is. So can you tell me a little bit about, like, everything started like 10 years ago, right? And how was this journey? You know what I mean? Like, why did you decide to do this movie, to do this is your first fiction?
Yeah, this film started as a documentary when about around 14 years ago, I heard about the stories of the girls in Marajó and what happened there with the sexual exploitation of really young children in the barges that run around go through the Tajapuru River. The person who told me that for the first time was Fafá de Belém. She's a very well-known Brazilian singer, interpreter. I'm sure most of you here know who she is. She had just come from Marajó, and she was really moved and touched by it, and she told me, and as a documentarian, my first impulse was, I need to tell this story, I need to shed light, people need to know what's going on. And then on that day I decided I would do a documentary. But on the first few weeks of research, I understood that it would be impossible for me ethically to put women and girls in front of the camera and ask them to recount traumatic experiences that would make them go through another kind of violence, because we all that have been through like some kind of violent or traumatic experience, when you recount it, you relive it. And so I decided that fiction was the only way, the possible way for me to do that in an impactful, respectful way. And the greater challenge throughout the making of this film was actually how to portray violence without bringing more violence. And I think the film doesn't show you violence explicitly, but it makes you feel the consequences of it.
Yeah, it is. It's really beautiful what you did with especially with the younger actresses, that you're very careful with that, and amazing. Such an amazing movie. I love it so much. So I want to know about the casting process, like especially Jamile Correia. How was like the process to casting her, and why she was perfect to play Tiele? Because she's perfect on the role.
Yeah, she's amazing, right? Jamile is a force of nature, and she had never acted before. I wanted to work with the children, the young cast, with children that had not have any acting experience before. So we did a long process of casting. It took almost a year, going to Belém many times and working with a casting director that worked with all the actors, but also like local casting directors that helped us find Jamile. And we had like a very long process. And because I wanted the girl to be 13 as well, the same age as the character, and it was very important for me that while we were making the film with the crew, and especially with the casting and the young actors, that we would preserve their mental and psychological well-being. So we took very much care of, during the process, of how to bring, the subject and the topic of the film to them, doing workshops, talking to them, to their family, and understanding, where she would stand, how mature she was, and they never read the script, the young cast, because I didn't want them to be, really in direct contact with the violence and the hardship of the reality. I mean, they knew what the film was about. She knew what her character would go through. But also, while directing her, I would not say and I would not give her specifics direction talking about or referring to the scene or to the meaning of the scene.
Yeah. And now we need to talk about Dira Paes.
Yeah.
I think she's also a great actress in Brazil, and I think her characters represents a little bit of the failure that we have in our Brazilian system. So what was like coming about her and bringing her to play this police woman in the movie?
Yeah, we wrote Areta for Dira, so that was a very, amazing process. Just knowing what an amazing actress she is. She's a reference for us. She's just, one of the greatest actresses of Brazilian cinema and television. And she's also a humanitarian and an amazing woman. And a friend. So she was one of the first person who came to the project when it was, still like an idea. And she came on board and she said, "Count with me. I'm in it." And her character is inspired by two very important people for this film and for the region, Maria Henriqueta Cavalcante and Delegado Rodrigo. And they both fight in the Amazon region to protect those women and girls against all that violence. So her character was sort of a mix between these two amazing and brave people, and also a collection of social assistants, psychologists that I encountered there, and that also helped us telling the stories. And so Areta's character was wrote thinking of Dira, and it was really beautiful. And as you said, I think she represents the failure of state in protecting those women and those girls and those kids, but also she represents the humanity in every one of us and in those people who work for the state but who has humanity in their hearts and who fights with their own lives to protect the life of those girls.
Yeah, she did a really good job as well. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges. I know everything's a challenge when you're making a movie. How was the challenge to film it over there, and with the cameras, with the founding the movie? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think the greatest challenge in this film, as I said before, even going to shoot, was how to construct the story. You don't see an explicit scene with violence. You don't see this girl's body, and it's not that I shot and I took it out during the editing process. That was like a pillar, like a founding structure of writing the script. So none of that was in the script in the first place. So the ellipses, the use of sound, everything was written in the script, was thought of. It was 8 years of research and of writing many layers and treatments of this story. So when we got there to shoot, the film was very mature in our heads and in the crews. But of course, I mean, we shot in the rainforest. We had to, be in cycle with the tide of the river, who is very, up and low, very low, as you see. We also tried to shoot chronologically to help Maciele, to help the girls go out, just to feel and to understand the cycle of violence and that she was going through. So, I mean, I was shooting also with a protagonist that is absolute. She's never seen, and she's a minor. So we had reduced hours of shooting. And so to put that together, like reduced hours of shooting, the whole crew going to set by boat, going in and out, which was really beautiful. We had amazing sunrises and sunsets. But it's very challenging. And also because I wanted to give everything in the film that we could do it. It's constructed to make you really immerse psychologically in the story that you're seeing. So there are a lot of details. For example, the tide. The film starts and the river is very high and the tide is very high, and that represents the moment that she's really whole and innocent and just being a girl, a 13-year-old girl. And then as the violence starts to happen and the trauma and it starts to just destroy her soul, the tide of the river starts going down. So when she runs out of the house, you see all the branches of the trees. And so that was also another challenging thing to put in our shooting schedule. But this was a film that it was very challenging in every way, I mean, logistically, but everyone in the crew was very committed in telling this story. Everyone was, thank you, I want to be part of it, I'm so happy I'm doing this film. So we were all, very together, very close, and we had a sense. Carolina Benevides, my producer, co-writer, my partner, my mana, she really allowed us and allowed me to make this film without making any compromise, and protecting our crew and protecting and really everyone that was working with us.
Yeah, how many months, days did you spend shooting over there?
The shooting was 8 weeks and a half, but between preparation, pre-production, we stayed around 4 months there. So it was not like a long shoot, considering the whole thing, that all of the challenges and restrictions we had.
Yeah. How was the people from Marajó? Did you film in Marajó? No, right?
I wish. As a documentarian, I wanted to shoot on location, but logistically it was impossible. Most of the communities, as you see in the film, do not have electricity. It's very far from Belém, which is the capital of Pará. So, I mean, you know, it's dangerous. So we ended up not being able to shoot there. So we had, you know, a challenge also to find Marajó in another part of the Amazon, because Tajapuru River, as you see in the film, it has this very specific, like, dense, you know, a quality to it. It's very, very, the margins are very, very wide apart. So I wanted you to give the sense of fragility as this girl is inside her home. I mean, she cannot run away. She has to, you know, hop on a boat. Either she has to, you know, paddle, or she has to have money to put diesel or oil in her boat. The margins are really far away, so it's not like it's really easy for her to just like swim and ask for help. And that's very specific of the Tajapuru River in Marajó. So I wanted this film, as I said, to be very respectful and honest to the reality that I saw throughout those 10 years going there and researching.
Yeah, such a great accomplishment that you had there. And what we can do as citizens of the world, I don't know, what we can do to help them to change that, because sometimes people are not aware what has happened there, what we can do. I
think we're talking about a structural problem. I mean, we live in a, you know, patriarchal society that is very machista, and you know, violence against women, girls, and boys happens everywhere. I mean, we're in a theater full of people, and it's not only sexual violence, it's physical violence, it's psychological violence, moral violence. So I think we have, you know, to support each other. That's what I hope that we can come out of this film. Maybe, you know, having the courage of saying no to what's going on with us, realizing that maybe we are living in a violent relationship or situation that we didn't even realize it was happening because it's so normalized. And that we have to, you know, to stand with each other as women. And it's important that men see this film too, because the change has to come from everyone.
Yes, and you came here to the U.S. and then you received the support of Champagne and Julia Roberts. How does it feel for you to have support of those biggest, like, biggest people? Like, they are so big here, and Champagne saw your movie in France, and then he fell in love with that, right? Can you talk a little bit about this feeling to have that support as well?
I mean, I think it's, you know, it's amazing, right? I mean, I would never imagine Sean Penn and Julia Roberts would, you know, see MANAS and while I was making this film. But I think it's really it shows how human and the power attached to the power of cinema and the importance of this story. I mean, they were as moved as you are right now. I think Julia Roberts in the screening, she said something when she was presenting. I want to look into every one of your faces. I want to make a mental picture, so that after the screening, I want to come back and see how different you're going to be, because this film is going to transform you. And that's really what I hope. And to have, I mean, people like Sean Penn and Julia Roberts that we admire so much, that has such an inspiring body of work, and also, I mean, not only on the screen, but also in their lives as humanitarians, and seeing the importance of this story and championing it, you know, and putting it out into the world, and helping this film and this story come to as many people as possible. That is really, really, really important. So that's what's happening with MANAS. It's having like this really strong and beautiful life, because it's resonating in people's hearts and souls. So it's really an honor, and I mean, the film has had this really amazing light brought back to it after everything's happening.
Yeah, I hope everybody get to see the movie and, and then open the minds and hearts and see what's really going on there. I want to come back to the editing part. Well, how was difficult for you, because you said you didn't cut too much, but how was the editing process?
Amazing. I loved all steps of making this film, and I think the editing part, it's so important. Isabela Monteiro de Castro, our editor, she's a genius. She's a brilliant. Constructing and just all the acting and all the scenes, and understanding the timing. And there's something really interesting when she got the script of the film. She told us, she was like, "Oh, I have a sense that I'm not going to have a lot of work to do in this film, because, everything that happens with Marciele, you cannot change the scenes very much because of the consequences of trauma, and what happens to her is very linked to the scene before." And she's like, "I'm used to doing films. They're just so free that sometimes the scene that is the 1:30 I put and it opens the film." But yeah, we did a lot of changing. I mean, we respect the chronology, but for example, the opening scene of the film, which is just, really breathtaking, it was not the opening shot of the film.
Okay, interesting. I want to ask you also about the safety, because of course you didn't film in Marajó, as you already mentioned, but the safety to filming in Amazon. How was that? Have you ever thought scare, or did anyone talk to you what you guys are doing here? How was this process of filming there, and people welcome you? I don't know,
Yeah, we, as I mentioned, we had to look for Marajó, in a place where we could shoot, and luckily we ended up finding Marajó in the islands behind Belém. I don't know if you heard Ilha do Cumbu. It's like a place that is very touristical. It's just on the river across Belém, and behind Cumbu we have those islands where we shot. We were very welcome. There, but of course we had to take a lot of care with the crew, safety, procedures. We have Kitty Fell, our first AD, who is just so amazing and so experienced. And yeah, we had a lot of, just care. There were some times that we were shooting and we had water on our knee, and so yeah, a lot of humidity and warmth, but the regular things that happen in some of the film sets.
Yeah, there is a Marianna before MANAS and a Marianna after MANAS. What changed in you as a person, as a MANAS?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Since the first time I heard of their stories, and the first time I went there, it changed me a lot. And it was really hard making this film for us, just listening to the stories and having to put that in writing and creating those characters and trying to understand them and not be judgmental, and create a truthful portrayal without cliches. And so yeah, and I think that the more we delved, and I delved into the stories and into the realities of so much violence, instead of just paralyzing me, that would make me certain that I had to do it. It would make me more brave. So yes, I'm much more brave and courageous, and I think that changed a lot in a lot of just the willingness to listen and to try to put myself in someone else's shoes, which is what I believe that's the only thing, as I said before, that really brings change.
Amazing. Can I open up for questions from them?
Yeah, sure.
We have time for one or two questions.
I would like to know about the mother, because in my point of view, it's the most complex character in the movie. I would like to know how it was built and what you think.
He asked about the mother, that he thinks is one of the most complex characters in the film. Oh.
Basically, it's what you just said. For me, it's the most complex character of the movie. And I would like to know what you think about her, the way it was built, and maybe you heard a lot of things, and maybe it's about someone that existed.
Yes, I agree with you. I think, it's hard to say which character is more complex, but the mother is very, very complex. And as I was saying, I didn't want to create any cliche characters or like completely bad or completely, good. And the mother is someone we usually, right? I mean, the blame is always on the woman, always on the mother, and how we construct the character. You start the film really blaming this woman and sometimes wanting to just slap her in the face and go like, you're not gonna do anything? Can't you see what's happening to your daughter? And then it comes to a point when you understand that she's really the product of these, of this cycle, of this mechanism of abuse that she lived all her life. And that's what I really, from all the stories that were told to me, what I encountered the most were women that had been living like this for generations. So the grandmother had gone through this, the mother, aunts and cousins, and that was really the only reality that she knew, as if nothing else could be possible. So it was inspired by a collection of stories that I heard, and a few women that I talked directly to them, and some dialogues are really what I heard, like of this woman saying, "Oh no, he really is a man of God." I heard that right after she told me he had abused 2 of her girls. So it's very complex, and I think what I hope the film makes is really to provoke and to make us think and not judge, and because we don't know what we would do if we were there, living in her situation. And the actress who portrays Daniele, Fatima, is just, an immense, enormous human being, and what an actress. It's beautiful what she does.
One more? Vai você. Tá ligado, acho.
In terms of filmmaking, was there a small miracle, something that you hadn't planned, and then it happened, and it helped during shooting?
I think making cinema is a miracle, and I think that we work a lot, we think a lot, we rehearse it a lot, but for this miracle to happen when we, start shooting. So I think this film is composed of many little miracles that put together make this film, and that had to happen, and that came really from the interaction and the bonding of the whole cast and crew. But there was one scene that it's very significant for me, because it was the first scene that Jamile, the actress who portrays Maciele, would see Marcílio Rômulo Braga for the first time in a violent way, which is the scene when she's going back drunk, and he grabs her by the arm and throws her into the little bathroom. So that scene, we were really aware of it and taking care of it, and everything that was darker happened after this point. So in the preparation, every happy scene or had to go before that. That was a mark for us, that also for her to to mature in in the scene, and she knew exactly what was going to happen. We rehearsed very, very well. But I mean, it was a dark scene, and there was a lot of noise, and so we did the first take, which is what you see on the screen, and she was just so good that I thought she was really scared. I mean, when we finished, I told my AD, I was like, I want a set light, I'm going there. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, I'm not shooting another take. I thought I was gonna find her and just hug her and that she would be like fragile. And then when I walk into the, close to the bathroom, she just opens the door, smiling and like, and I said, are you okay, Jamili? And she was like, of course, I'm great. And I was like, and she was so happy, like she was all, and I was like, are you okay? Are you really okay? She was like, yeah, of course. Was it good? And I was like, oh, it's perfect. Do you want to do another one? And she was like, as many as you want. That moment, she understood the process, that she was an actress. I mean, she was happy because she saw, you know, she understood her acting there. And for us, it was just this, that was a miracle. I mean, I was really worried, and that was when, and then after the shooting, I asked her, what was your favorite scene? And that was that scene, because, you know, that was like her transformation. It was beautiful, yeah.
She's a force of nature, as you said. She's an amazing. Marianna, oh, one more?
She has the
mic
question.
Okay, yes. One more.
Just the last one. Thank you, guys.
And I mean, you guys traveled the world, as you said, for the past year with this film, and like everywhere from Europe to the U.S. I was wondering what the reception was like around, like in the Amazon where you shot it, like bringing the movie back. And then after this whole year, where do you hope it goes next? And what are your next steps after everything?
Yeah, we had screenings in Belém where we shot, and it was really emotional and beautiful. And for us, it was very important to bring back, you know, the film. And it was very important for me that the people who lived there felt represented in a truthful, respectful way. And I think that's what happens. They're very, 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 very proud of the film, and it was really beautiful. Like the first screening I did there was a private screening before we premiered in Venice and before we had like our final cut. And I showed the film to Irmã Henriqueta and Delegado Rodrigo, who inspired Dira's character, and who were the people who took me to Marajó and who know and understands the situation and who live every day that reality. And I wanted them to see the film and tell me that if we had gotten right and if we were portraying truthfully and deeply and, you know, with all the layers that it needed. So that was our first, you know, yes, and they felt represented, and they said that many times they were touched because they saw themselves in the screen. And so now what's happening is, since we started this project 10 years ago, what we wanted was also especially to bring social, political change. And so right now we are starting to do screenings in Marajó Island. We have like a whole program of screening next year through the communities and bringing social assistance and people that can really listen to these women and girls and give them support. So yeah, that's what I hope. Like now we are beginning a new life of MANAS that is not just in film festivals and in cinemas, like commercial cinemas, like where we are, but importantly giving it back to the community and bringing it to people who do not have access to places like this.
Yeah, and so you're going to be able to see here in the U.S. everywhere, for sure. Marianna, I want to thank you so much for your time. Congratulations again on all these awards. Thank you so much for sticking around. we're gonna have our show active. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigada.
Obrigada.
If you like to support or continue to support Jana on Camera, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share the videos.